I work the graveyard shift at a 24-hour diner here in town. At first, he seemed like just another customer. Well-dressed, button-up shirt, slacks, slicked back hair, the kind of cologne that says I spend more on scent than you do on rent. He'd show up religiously every Tuesday and Thursday between 2 and 3 a.m., always ordered the same thing. Black coffee, no sugar, and a blueberry muffin. Paid in cash, tipped well, and was almost too polite. Like, the kind of polite that feels off lots of please and thank you, always asking how my night was going. At first, I thought it was kind of nice to have a regular who wasn't drunk or screaming at the coffee machine. You'd be surprised at the freak parade we get after midnight. But after 3 weeks or so, I noticed he was sticking around longer than usual, always trying to start small talk. At first, it was harmless stuff. "You been working here long?" Or "You like the night shift?" I'd answer out of politeness, but always kept it professional. Then the questions got specific, personal. He wanted to know if I lived far, if I had a car or walked home, if I felt safe working nights. Once, he asked if I had a boyfriend. I said yes, total lie, and he made this weird face and changed the subject. What really got under my skin was the way he looked at me when he asked things, like he was watching my face for some kind of signal. It was subtle but creepy. I started getting uncomfortable, but I told myself maybe he was just a lonely guy trying to make conversation. Then one Thursday last month, things took a turn. He showed up with a woman. First time that ever happened. She was older, classy, designer clothes, expensive bag, hair and makeup done like she was headed to a gala at 3 a.m. They whispered to each other over coffee, and I tried not to pay attention, but I couldn't help noticing the way they kept glancing at me. When they left, the woman stayed behind and walked up to the counter. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Told me she had an opportunity for me. Said I had the right look for some private events in the city. Easy work, good pay. Just serving drinks at exclusive parties. Nothing shady, she promised. Easy money. I said no immediately. Told her I already had a job and wasn't interested. She didn't back off. Said I was turning down a golden opportunity, that girls like me do really well at these events. The way she said girls like me made my skin crawl. I shut it down firmly. She shrugged, left a card on the counter, and walked out. It just had a phone number, no name, no company. I tossed it in the trash the second she left. But the bad feeling stuck with me for the rest of the night. He didn't come back that week, and I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, they'd moved on. Yeah, not quite. The following week, he came back at his usual time. But this time, something had shifted. He was more aggressive. Asked the same personal questions, but now with an edge. Brought up my friend's offer and asked if I'd thought about it. When I said no, he got visibly annoyed. Told me I was being stupid. Said chances like that don't come around often. That's when the fear really set in. I told him I had work to do and walked away. He finished his coffee in silence and left. But before walking out, he turned to me at the door and said, "You should reconsider, Emily. It'd be a shame if something happened to a pretty girl working alone at night." The way he said my name, reading it off my name tag, made my stomach drop. Then came the real nightmare. The next Thursday, he didn't show up. I actually felt relieved. My shift ended at 6, and I started walking home like I always did. About 6 blocks, quiet route, never had issues. But that morning, 2 blocks in, I felt watched. I turned around. A dark car was crawling down the street behind me, matching my pace. I sped up. The car sped up. My heart went wild. I turned down a side street to see if it was just my imagination. Nope, the car followed. I ran straight to a bakery that was just opening up and waited inside, pretending to check my phone while trying not to lose it. The owner noticed I was freaked out, asked if I was okay. I told him about the car, and he offered to drive me home. I said yes immediately. When we stepped outside, the car was gone. I got home shaking, locked every door, every window, and barely slept. I kept wondering, was it just coincidence? Paranoia? But deep down, I knew that threat from the night before wasn't just words. He'd followed me, and I had no idea what he really wanted. Next day, I got to work early and asked my manager to pull the security footage from the past week. What I saw chilled me to the bone. His car had been circling the block around the diner, even on nights he hadn't come in. Sometimes it just sat across the street for hours, watching. In one video, you could clearly see him behind the wheel, smoking, eyes locked on the door. Another clip showed the car parked there on a Monday. He never came in on Mondays. That's when I realized he'd been watching me for way longer than I thought. My manager got concerned and said we should call the cops. I asked him to hold off. Part of me still doubted anyone would take it seriously. Then came Tuesday. He came in like nothing had happened, ordered his usual coffee and a muffin. But this time I was ready. I kept my distance, barely spoke, avoided eye contact. He noticed, asked if I was okay. I said I was fine, but my voice was shaking. He smiled, that smug, disgusting smile, and said, "Good. It'd be a shame if you were feeling unsafe." The way he dragged out unsafe confirmed it. He knew I was on to him. He lingered that night, nearly an hour, just sitting there, scrolling through his phone, glancing at me now and then. I pretended to clean the counter for the 10th time just to avoid looking in his direction. When he finally got up to leave, he walked right past me and whispered, "You really sure you want to say no? Stubborn girls have a way of ending up in trouble." I froze, couldn't say a word. He walked out laughing quietly, and I just stood there, shaking. I called my manager immediately, told him everything. The creepy questions, the threats, the following me home. He didn't hesitate, said he was calling the cops right then, and that I wasn't finishing the shift alone. The police showed up a couple hours later. Of course, the guy was long gone by then. They took statements, grabbed the camera footage, told me they'd investigate, warned me not to walk home anymore. Always get a ride, call someone, stay in public. The rest of that shift crawled by. I couldn't stop checking the windows, expecting that car to reappear. When my shift ended, my manager drove me home himself. I've never been so grateful to see my front door. The next Tuesday, no sign of him. Thursday, nothing. Part of me hoped the cops had scared him off. Maybe he gave up. Maybe he realized I wasn't an easy target. But nope. A week later, Friday, 4 a.m., I was covering for a coworker when he walked in. Same fake smile, same usual order. This time, I reached for the phone to call the cops, but he raised a hand and said, "Relax, Emily. Just came to say goodbye. I'm leaving town." Yeah, right. I played along, made the coffee with trembling hands. He stayed for maybe 20 minutes, going on about how nice it was getting to know me, how special I was, like we were old friends, like he hadn't been stalking me and threatening me for weeks. When he left, he dropped a 50 on the table, way more than his order cost, and said, "So you'll remember me." I stared at that bill like it was toxic, threw it out the second he left. Cops showed up after I called again. Surprise, he was long gone. They said they'd increase patrols around the diner, but I knew it wouldn't matter. That was 3 weeks ago. He never came back. Not him, not the woman, not the car. Just vanished. The police think he really left town. Maybe the heat scared him off. But I don't believe it's over. Not really. Sometimes I wonder if he's just waiting, watching from somewhere, waiting for me to let my guard down. I don't know what he wanted from me. I don't know how far he was willing to go. And that's what keeps me up at night. What haunts me most is thinking about how many other girls he's approached like this. How many said yes to that woman's offer, not realizing what they were walking into. Maybe I was just one of many, or maybe something about me caught his eye. I switched to the afternoon shift. Always get picked up now. Still check behind me when I walk. Still feel my chest tighten every time a car slows down near me. And when I see a man in a suit at the diner, I freeze. Every time. I'll never work nights again. Not after that voice, that smile, that feeling of being hunted.